Okay, so today we are going to discuss about a few Apex concepts which are very important for you to know or understand, and that will help you understand overall how Apex works. So basically what is happening, I'm writing a program, it is working. Now sometimes you need to understand how it is actually working in the backend, all right? How it actually processes the commands or actions. Okay, so first concept here is an Apex transaction. Now what's an Apex transaction? An Apex transaction basically represents a set of operations that are executed as a single unit. Okay, so what's an Apex transaction? It's set of operations that are executed as a single unit. So all the operations which are executed as one single unit. All DML operations inside a transaction either complete successfully, or if an error occurs in one operation, the entire transaction is rolled back and no data is committed to the database. So what happens in a transaction, or the set of operations which need to commit together, that's called a transaction, like a method. Okay, so for your understanding, all the code written inside a method is a transaction. Okay, now this uh, entire code piece of code is executed as a single unit. Okay, so there will not be a scenario where half of the method executes and half does not execute, right? Now what we are trying to understand here is the important part is all the DML operations in a transaction. So if there are any DML operations inside a transaction, all of them are going to execute as one single unit. Okay, so all the DMLs either will complete successfully, or even or if an error occurs in one operation, even if there is an error in one DML record, the entire transaction will be rolled back. Correct. So even if there is one single error, let's say there is a uh, sorry, let's say there is a method. That method includes two DML operations. One DML is to update account, second DML is to update opportunities. Sorry. So if there are two DML operations inside that method, now the first DML has completed successfully. The second one, when trying to execute, encounters an error. Now in that scenario, the entire transaction is going to get rolled back, which means the previous DML, the first DML which got executed, that will also get rolled back. Okay, and no data will be committed to the database. So that is the concept of a transaction. So which makes your life easy. So basically, if there was an error when you were trying to execute a method, you know that your database has come to the stage where it was before the method was initiated. If everything is rolled back, then you get your database in the same stage where it was before I initiated the method, which makes my life easy. Just imagine, if it would have been the other way, like half of the DMLs will, get executed. Whatever got executed will not get rolled back. If that doesn't get rolled back, then I would need to go back and check for which all records got created, and then remove them or cleanse them. So that becomes difficult, right? So this is how this transaction concept works. It's something which helps us a lot, right? The boundary of a transaction can be a trigger, a class method, an anonymous block of code, a visual force page. So these can be the boundaries of the transaction. So one anonymous block of code gets executed as one single transaction, a method in a class gets executed as a transaction, a trigger gets executed as a transaction, visual force page load gets executed as a transaction, right? All operations that occur inside the transaction boundary represent a single unit of operation. That's fine. Now, how are transactions useful? I just told you, how transaction is useful. If there is, if we do not have this rollback concept, then life of the end users is going to become very difficult. So I try to execute a method and the method executes half and it doesn't get rolled back due to the error, then it becomes very difficult for me because I cannot try to re-execute the method, because if I try to re-execute it, half of the records were already there. Now the Second time I do it again, the same records get created, and which actually puts my database into an inconsistent state, right? The transaction concept actually helps your database to be in a consistent state. Okay, even if there is an error, you know that your database is in the state where it was before the method was actually initiated. Okay, so transactions are useful when several operations are related and either all or none of the operations should be committed. So this transaction concepts become very useful when there are multiple operations and these multiple operations are related to each other. Okay, and we want either all or none of the operations to be committed. This keeps the database in a consistent state. There are many business scenarios that benefit from transaction processing, but there is one small scenario which I'm going to discuss and which you guys can easily relate to. Okay, so take a scenario, you're transferring funds from one bank account to another bank account. When you try to transfer funds from one bank account to the other one, what exactly you do? What is done? One account, the funds are reduced from one, deducted from one account, and they are added to the other account, right? So basically two DML operations take place there. Okay, there will be a change in the account from where the funds are being transferred, and there will be a change in the account where the funds are actually being transferred. Okay, so that is the thing, transferring funds from one bank account to the other bank account. It involves debiting the first account and crediting the second account. Right. Now imagine if the funds have got deducted from the first account, and while the funds were being added to the second account, at that time there was an error due to any reason. Okay, and the funds were not actually added. In this scenario, what do you expect? We expect that the deduction that happened to the first account should also get rolled back, right? If that doesn't happen, then the entire system will become inconsistent. Let's say you are trying to send money to me and your money got deducted and it did not get credited to me and it didn't get back to your account also. Then what happens? A lot of confusions, right? So this is a small scenario. There can be a lot of scenarios like this, right? So let's say I just wanted to create an account, and along with account I wanted to create an opportunity as well. Account got created but the opportunity did not get created. Now there is a problem. Okay, next time I try to run the same method, it's again going to create one more account. So it's actually creating a duplicate account. Got it? So this way there can be a lot of these kind of business scenarios. The reason why I'm talking about this bank account scenario, because there's something which we can easily relate to. So now these two operations, these two, debiting the account and crediting the account, these two operations need to be committed together to the database. Both of them are actually, so how does it work? The data is committed to the database as one single unit. Okay, so they are committed together to the database. So in that case, either both of them will get committed or nothing. Okay, so to understand this transaction concept, now you must be wondering that how actually it works. All right, or how does the rollback process work? So to understand this, we'll have to understand the order of execution for a save. Okay, so let us understand the order of execution for a save process. When a record is getting saved into the database, or when a record is being committed to the database, let us understand what is the order of execution. So see, there are so many logics which can be defined on a record save: validation rules, workflow rules, triggers, before triggers, after triggers, custom validation rules are there, system validations are there, assignment rules are there, so many things, right? Now, out of all these things, we have to understand what is the proper order of execution. All right. Out of all these things, we have to understand what is the proper order of execution for the data to be saved. Right. So that's what we are gonna understand here. Okay, so which rule executes first and how it works, that's what we're going to understand. So first of all, okay, the first thing that is actually checked when you try to save a record